Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Faisal Susiwala, recently named as the #1 REMAX agent worldwide in terms of sales volume and number of homes sold. If you'd like a chance to chat with Faisal yourself, you can start by going to homeshack.com. You can also call Faisal directly, 519-624-5555, or through email, Faisal@homeshack.com. Woodstock, Faisal, not too far from here. It's been in the news lately, and not always a good thing to be in the news. But this is an interesting story because I don't know if it falls under the category of, we didn't know, or we believed one thing, the other people believed another thing. Discrepancies when it comes to municipalities meeting their targets for housing. What are we seeing? What's happening in Woodstock, and it may be happening elsewhere as well.
Yeah, so I stumbled across this information not that long ago, and I thought I'd share that. So in 2023, last year, Woodstock exceeded its target of building of new housing starts or building permits, and that's the discrepancy we're going to talk about. So it exceeded its target with 475 homes built. The target was 403, so they exceeded their target, which is great news.
Yeah.
So this success earned the city nearly 2 million from the province under the Building Faster Fund that was mandated under the province. Now to 2024, the target for this year was 458 homes. So by October of this year, only 115 residential permits had been issued in Woodstock.
Okay.
So the discrepancy is here in the housing data.
Okay.
So Woodstock counts residential permits while the province counts the actual housing starts,
Okay.
which is actually the start of construction, shovel in the ground.
Right.
So getting a permit is one thing, and putting the shovel in the ground is the other thing.
Right.
So the discrepancy is, what is the province counting, and what are they giving the money out on? Now, the government housing supply tracker shows that 443 housing starts in Woodstock was 97% of their target.
Right.
The discrepancy still remains. Is it the number of permits that were taken out, or was it the number of housing starts, meaning how many homes started construction? And that's where the discrepancy is. What data is being used by the municipality versus what data is being by the province, and is there a gap between the two? And there's some confusion right now as to what it actually is. Despite all of that, it's good. Permits are being taken out. Housing
Right.
starts are up, especially in the Woodstock area. But we want to make sure that there isn't some manipulation, and I'm not suggesting Woodstock did that, or misunderstanding on, is it the permit that counts for the $2 million, or does it depend on how many shovels went into the ground and
Right.
how many homes started being constructed? I would think that housing starts, just an opinion, should be what you base the funding on, not how many people got permits.
Yep, and I think you've got to be on the same page, right? That both the province and the city of Woodstock need to be on the same page when you're making those comparisons. And I don't think anyone's been asking for the $2 million back, but we'll leave to that to the powers that be. At the same time, you bring up a good point in the pre-show notes, the idea of whether or not we'll ever actually meet the housing goals that have been set out by the federal government and by the provincial government. Are meeting those goals even possible?
It's not looking good.
Okay.
It's not looking good. We've talked about this many times in the past. The targets would require like doubling the amount of labor force to meet those targets, increasing, like we just talked about, the permits that have been taken out. There's not enough permits that are being issued because there's not enough builders that are wanting to build, because there's not enough population to cover or the need for it at this moment. So all of this is having a negative impact on what's required. So Trudeau's plan for 3.87 million new homes by 2031 requires doubling output, and that's just not happening. Each construction worker right now would need to produce 3/4 of a home annually. Each worker. Right now we're at 0.4, so not even half a home annually. by each construction worker. So these are some interesting statistics that I was able to pull up. In even in the historical peaks, which was 2000 to 2004,
Mhm.
workers only produced 0.57 homes annually. Now
Wow.
we're at zero point 0.4 right now. So we're not catching, we're going the wrong way.
Right.
So achieving 3 million homes at that rate would still fall 849,000 homes short of what the
Wow.
target. So I don't think we have the right infrastructure, mandate, policies, workforce, land availability, bureaucratic municipality approvals ready to
Right.
go to create any of this. So I believe we're going to be in a tough spot to get anywhere near this. So Canada needs over 400,000 homes annually to meet the affordability standards that they've set
Right.
out. In 2023, just 240,000 starts were completed, and that's the lowest since 2009. So again, I don't know how these targets are going to come anywhere near what they're expecting at this point.
And we've talked about this in the past too. The idea that we worry about making sure that there's innovation and supply chains and the workforce, right? Are we? We keep talking to the younger generation about the idea of getting into the trades, getting into those sectors that are in need. We know you can basically write your own ticket, and this is we look at these numbers and we thinking, we need to be doing this. We need the manpower, the people power behind that to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Um, the other point that you had brought up as well too, the idea of whether or not municipalities are being fair to new home buyers. Maybe you can walk us through what's going on when it comes to development charges and how do those impact people and what who's bearing the brunt of those charges.
So development charges make up such a large percentage of the cost of a home, and people don't realize just how much money is actually being, you say, okay, well, the house is 900,000, starting at $900,000. Well, there could be 100,000 or $150,000 worth of that price is actually in permit fees, development charges, depending on which municipality you're in, taxes, all the infrastructure costs, and those development charges rightfully go to arenas, projects, parks, community services, depending on where you are, maybe even contributes towards provincial healthcare mandates. So it depends on which municipality you're in and where that development charge is actually being allocated. But what's happening is, and some argue that
Hmm.
all of that cost is now going on to really first-time home buyers that have not been in the market, have not had the benefit of living in our communities, not benefiting from the community centers, the arenas, the parks, and whatnot, yet they're bearing the cost of the majority of this cost. And the argument here is, why not put some of that cost, and of course, our listeners are going to hate me for saying this, on existing homeowners by
Hmm.
increasing their property taxes, not significantly, but by a percentage to bear some of that. So all that brunt of that cost is not going strictly on new home buyers that are coming into the region or existing home buyers that live in the region that just want to buy their first home. So this is where, we give these builders a really hard time on pricing and say, well, there's no way, it's still cheaper to go buy a resale home than buy one of your homes. Why would I buy your home? What they're not realizing is that this builder is not pocketing this money.
No.
There's such a high level of soft costs that you don't actually see that are buried in underground services and taxes and levies and regional fees and municipal fees and all of that adds up to a large, maybe 10-15% of the cost can be just those soft costs. So there has to be some sharing of that because Look, we've all owned our homes for many, many years. We've enjoyed these communities. We've enjoyed the benefits of what these communities offer. But are we still contributing towards the ongoing expenses and the new infrastructure that is required in our region? And that's the argument there. And I guess a case could be made for both sides. Homeowners have been paying property taxes for 30 years. New folks are just coming in that they need to sort of front load their expenses now.
And a good point. And it's I think it's fair for people to, take a step back from that, take a look at it and say and be realistic and as we've said, you can't make all of your decisions based on what your heart thinks, but is it logical? Does it make sense to do that? We'll take a final break here on Ask the Experts. When we come back, um, don't make your kitchen look small. You're listening to Ask the Experts here on 570 News Radio.